The following talk was given at the Insight Meditation Center in Redwood City, California. Please visit our website at audiodharma.org.
Welcome back to our loving kindness class. And since people are still coming in, it might be nice to see if you have any questions based on what we talked about last week, or even better, if some of you have tried the practice at home during the week, what your experiences have been like, or results have been like, or nice to hear a little bit from you before I start. You can wait for the mic.
I'm not sure about the benefactor person. So I chose somebody, and then I felt terribly guilty that I hadn't chosen somebody else. And I'm finding that I'm torn between spending a week on one person and giving them their full due, and spreading it out among several others. Do you have any wisdom to shed on this?
Well, I think one of the things always in this kind of practice is to realize that the practice we're doing is flushing out the ways our minds make things more complicated than they need to be. And some people do loving kindness and they get angry. That doesn't make any sense. But the practice will highlight some of the some of the deeper tendencies that our minds are operating on. And some of our ways are, self-knowledge is seldom good news. And so we get to learn about ourselves, how we operate, what our values are, what our tendencies are. And so, for example, some people who do loving kindness practice will do it for a while into it, and then they listen to the tone of voice in which they're saying, "May you be kind." And the tone of voice is really harsh, like, "You better be kind." And what it shows them, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't make any. It shows them, oh, I think I have it. There's a harsh critic inside of me. I didn't know it was always there. So for you have something about fairness, perhaps, or some kind of issue which is very strong for you. It sounds like a beautiful quality in part, but it probably it's misplaced or misunderstood, or operates more powerfully in your life than really serves you. And so having it come out here in this practice is actually a beneficial thing, because then you can question that and look and try to understand what's going on. So don't bother with saying, "I'm doing the practice wrong." Just say, "Great, now I have a chance to look at something about myself." And so maybe during the outside of meditation, you spend time reflecting on this, talking about it, and exploring what this all means. So, and maybe you'll find some deeper insight about yourself and how you operate that can help you kind of free yourself from the burden of that kind of thinking. So that's a good thing. Now to take a whole other attack on this is, I think it's helpful. Many people find it helpful in doing loving kindness practice to consider it pretty much a private practice, that you're kind of just doing it for your own sake, and no one has to know about it. And you do it. The idea is to do something that's beneficial for you as a meditation practice, and so do it in a way that is beneficial for you, without concern with who the people are. Or they don't have to know. No one has to know. I mean, now you've told everyone, but but no one needs to know. And the idea is to choose the people for whom it's easiest for. Now, if for you the easiest is to do the whole gang, then you could creatively just imagine, a living room filled with all your friends, and rather than say you to an individual, say, "May all of you be happy." If it becomes this, so rather than working through your difficulty with this issue, because loving kindness is also about just finding some way to feel kind, and so you could work through the issue and free yourself from something, or you could just say, "Well, I just have this issue or unfairness. So given that, I'm just going to imagine all of them." And Gil said to just do an individual, but that didn't work so well for me, so I'll just do the whole group. There's no shoulds or obligation in doing loving kindness practice. It's really meant as a practice to support you and help you become kinder. And so you can be creative how you do it. In a way it's your... Someone else here in the front. You go please.
With that in mind, I have trouble. I feel much softer and sweeter in here when I'm doing it than I do at home. Is that just something that will come in time?
Let's hope. Often with all meditation practices, some people find it's a lot easier to do it in a group. There's a focus, there's a sense of purpose, there's a sense of shared commonality. It's important, it's valuable. You do it at home, and you might be the only person at home doing it, or even in your neighborhood doing it. And so, like, you're the only one who's weird. And so, like, you like doing it, but you look around, and I hope no one notices. And so there's not the same kind of focus. So I don't know if that's your way, but I'm saying it's common for people to have that. And ultimately, it's often what we want to do with any meditation practice is learn how to do it unassisted, without any support. And so, with time, you want to learn how not to have. Some people you will use guided tapes, recordings for getting to meditation. You'll use music or all kinds of things, and they're helpful up to a point. But really, to become mature in this practice, you really want to learn it on your own. So it's actually good. I don't know if it's good exactly, but it's the fact that it's harder at home shows you that you have more work to do. And rather than abandoning home, say, oh, great, home is my gym. That's where I'm going to work out and, develop my heart. So up here in the front, if you...
So I cycled through a number of people in each of my sittings, and I found that it did help me feel and maybe even be kinder, because I found myself saying, well, if I really care about these people, I want them to be happy, peaceful, at ease, healthy, safe, I really ought to be calling them more often. I really ought to be stopping by their desk and talking with them. And so, because otherwise it's hypocritical, I thought. So it was interesting and beneficial.
I don't know if it has to be hypocritical, but it's quite beautiful that once we start feeling some more kindness, that we want to act on it. And so that action, again, it shouldn't be a should, but rather it's just much more natural. So, you feel kinder, so you stop and say, how are you? It flows more of a natural, something natural. It's beautiful. I'm happy to hear that. And doing loving kindness practice has a surprising way of bubbling up in life, where you go around and you're cultivating, kind of like you're cultivating a habit, and that habit pops up in unusual times. Like you could be at a difficult meeting at work, and you're kind of irritated by the people, and then suddenly remember, yes, but yesterday I was sitting and doing loving kindness for him. And then may you be happy, and then suddenly your whole thing changes, because you've established a connection through your practice that you didn't have otherwise. Someone else? One more maybe? So way in the back, if you can pass there. Thank you.
Unclear on one thing. At this time, are we just doing loving kindness meditation at home without the mindfulness and without the forgiveness? Is that the way it's done, or is it?
Yeah, that's what I've recommended for this 4 weeks of this class. Is just mostly just do loving kindness at home. The forgiveness we did last week, if you find it beneficial to do that at the beginning, that's a nice thing to do. It's kind of part of the package of loving kindness. Some people will do some of it, some people don't do it. But yeah, I think just the idea in these 4 weeks to just kind of immerse yourself in as much as you can when you meditate, to just do this, to get a sense of it, a feel for it, explore it. So, kindness is one of the great pleasures of life. And it's a pleasure which some people see as a vice, some people see as being a weakness, some people see as something that makes them much too vulnerable to the world around them, to other people. But part of the function of this practice is to discover, in doing loving kindness practice, a strength to it, not a weakness, a safety and not a vulnerability. And what was the first one I said? But what? Vice. Sorry. A vice. Yeah, it's a virtue rather than a vice. And in that, you have access to one of the great pleasures for being a human being. And it's a pleasure that directly connects us to other people. It's a social pleasure. It's one that speaks to the social nature of being a human being. And the social world is a complex world, but it's a world that can be quite beautiful and one that we all need. We need each other in profound ways, and even though we don't, even when we pretend we don't. And so kindness is one of those ways that, one of those links that connects us with our fellow humanity, our shared humanity with each other, and one where not only do we inspire to care for others, but also allow ourselves to be cared for, to be open to other people as well. It's a beautiful thing. In Buddhism, they emphasize, Buddhism doesn't make a strong dichotomy, as sometimes in the West, between being self-concerned and concerned for others. The idea of being selfish versus being altruistic. In Buddhism, the idea is that these two systems, the self, who you are, and others, are really together, they overlap in important ways. And if you benefit yourself in spiritual ways, then who you are, how you are, will benefit others. So, for example, if you do loving kindness meditation, then you're more likely to go to that horrible business meeting and be at the meeting in a kinder way that supports other people. You benefited from doing the practice yourself, but then it comes out to you benefiting other people in other situations. And so in that spirit, then, Buddhism says it's one of the ways it supports the inspiration to do loving kindness practice is to appreciate the benefits you get from doing it. And some people protest. Isn't it supposed to be about, it's not supposed to be about me. How can it be kind when I'm focusing on me? Kindness has to be about giving up self and just focusing on other people. There's such a strong bias in that direction. But Buddhism doesn't have that strong bias. Certainly Buddhism says you can be conceited in problematic ways, narcissistic, but there's a healthy self-concern as well. So they say there's a lot of benefits, and when people do intensive loving kindness meditation, they memorize 11 benefits that come from doing the practice. And unfortunately, I haven't memorized them, or I have, but I don't remember them right now. Once upon a time. But there are things like you fall asleep easily, you wake up easily, you'll have a clear complexion. And then they say, then some of them are a little bit more kind of supernatural. They say that weapons won't harm you, and people and supernatural beings will like you. So it goes on like that, different things. You'll have pleasant dreams. There's another benefit. So sometimes, reflecting on how you benefit from it. And one of the ways that I think is helpful to do loving kindness practice is to do it in a way that physiologically is beneficial. So when I do loving kindness practice, with each phrase, I kind of relax my body. I kind of relax and let the meaning of the phrase kind of move through, saturate into my cells, into my bones. And that relaxation and opening and spreading of the body certainly is a counter to the tendency some people have of bracing themselves against life, tightening up and contracting. And that's beneficial, that deep relaxation. And the fact that there's this pleasant emotion, pleasant feeling that comes with it is quite nice. And it's a beautiful thing to appreciate that. It's okay to appreciate that. It's okay to want that for yourself. You don't have to be so focused on being kind to others you don't notice that you're benefiting from it. It's a pleasure for oneself. You protect yourself from danger. I don't know about, absolutely from all weapons every time, but I've been in situations of, I've known people who have been in situations of harm. They were being held up by gunpoint or knife point. I've known people who as the victim blew it, they ended up, and one friend of mine, he ended up in jail by how he behaved afterwards. And I've known people who have been able to stay calm and express such kindness that they may be able to get out of danger. There's no guarantee that that can do it, but you increases your chance of protecting yourself if you're kind. And that comes out of you, and the people feel that from you. So those are benefits we can get. But also, part of kindness is a system where it also speaks to that part of us which is concerned with other people. Where we feel our common humanity, we feel that others have the similar capacity of joys and sorrows as we do. And we kind of, the natural capacity we have for empathy. They say, talking about mirror nowadays, mirror neurons. We have these nerves, neurons in the brain. They have this great capacity of mirroring or picking up what other people are doing. And so like my son who's into baseball, my little kid, he has a very good visual memory. If he sees someone else move their body in baseball, like some professional player, he sees that and he can mimic it beautifully. There's like this mimicking kind of ability, and so he does it with baseball. But we all have the capacity to, in some way or other, pick up and mirror within us people's kindness or people's anger, and so we pick that up and it affects us. But we pick up their suffering, we pick up their joys, and to feel that it's kind of a deep, almost pre-verbal kind of capacity to feel other people. Some people feel more than others. But kindness comes out of that arena, that place. And that place of that deep sensitivity to others is not a cognitive thing where we think about what's a good idea of being. It comes more when we relax enough and drop our stress, drop our anxiety, drop our preoccupations and our thoughts, and really can take in someone else. And then there comes a kind of natural caring for others. And kindness then is not just about bringing benefit to yourself, but it's really a caring for other people as well. And so people talk about it being kind of a loving concern for others. Now, so far in this class, we've talked about doing loving kindness towards oneself, a benefactor and a friend. And the idea here is that these are people for whom there's some pre-existing good feelings for. I hope that you have good feelings for your friends. Otherwise it wouldn't be your friends. You're friendly to your friends, right? And so you build on that friendliness that you have, and you focus that friendliness. You don't just let it be, chance, pop up whenever it happens to pop up. You don't let it be scattered by other kinds of concerns. So you have an unbroken, focused involvement with that friendship or that love or that caring that you have for someone whom you already have. The next step of loving kindness now is to move and do loving kindness to what's called a neutral person. And a neutral person is a person whom you have no particular like or dislike for. It's usually someone you don't really know very well. So it could be someone that you encounter every day, but you never think about. You never really let them in. For some people, it's the mail carrier. They hardly see the mail carriers in distance, and it never occurred to them to think about them or care about them or anything. Or a store clerk you see a few times and never occurs to you, or some coworker who's in another part of the building. You maybe hardly even know their name. There's no reason to think about that person, and so you realize there's no liking, disliking, there's no charge around knowing them, and so that's a neutral person. Some people protest and say that there are no neutral people, that their mind will automatically, no matter what, if you see anybody, their mind will judge them, good or bad, some way. That's just how their mind works. So then it's a neutral person, someone whom there's not much charge around it. You don't really know, you don't have a good basis for it, and so if you like them or not like them, it's basically kind of, neutral. And then the task is to start seeing if you can find goodwill, feelings of kindness, feelings of caring, feeling of friendliness, loving kindness, whatever the word is for you that works. Find some way, can you view them, see them through the eyes of friendliness, or friendship, or kindness, or love. And what does it take to do that? This is a big jump for some people to do. For some people it's an easy jump. Some people find it easier to have boundless love for people they don't know. And as soon as they know them, then it gets complicated. Kind of love in the abstract. People in the abstract are fine. But some people find this a big leap, because why should you care for someone who you don't know? Why should you care for someone who doesn't do anything for you? Some people have the exchange idea of love or friendship, that I'm only going to care for someone who cares for me. And so if there's a neutral person and someone I don't know, why should I bother? And so part of the task of moving to the neutral person, it's a very profound task, a very important one, is to begin exploring what your relationship is to people in general, what your relationship to caring or feeling friendship to people, what are the blockages and limitations you have for being able to do that. And questioning those, exploring and questioning, are they really true, some of the limitations you have? Are there ways of understanding your relationship to other people where you can understand that, yes, it makes sense to have kindness, I can feel kindness for them? And then find that, and then begin kind of stretching yourself to begin actually expressing or evoking or meditating on whatever goodwill, whatever kindness that you can have towards these people who are basically have been kind of non-entities in your life up until now, kind of neutral people. One of the beautiful things that can happen is, after a short while, the person no longer is neutral. After a while, you start feeling, if you're successful, you start feeling this friendly feeling towards them. And many people have done loving kindness practice and on a neutral person, and later had an encounter with a neutral person, and they just light up. Wow, my neutral person, how wonderful! And they feel all this warmth in the neutral person. What's going on? And worse things could happen. Some people find it helpful in doing, very important initially, especially, when be able to do a loving kindness towards a neutral person, that they remember that this is a private practice. It doesn't have to translate to action. You might be inspired to act, but it doesn't have to. And some people who are afraid to open up, feel too vulnerable, or feel like maybe people will take advantage of them if they know or something, we'll just keep it private. Just, and they don't light up when the neutral person comes. They just kind of look down and, stay with their fear. But inside their heart, they know that they've opened to them and care for them. Some people find it more helpful that way. So it's a big leap. So what I thought we would do today is do 2 meditation sessions. And we'll do one, it's kind of a repeat of last week, with a little different variation. And just kind of self and benefactor and friend. And just kind of explore that world, feel that world. And then we'll take stop and we'll talk a little bit, and then we'll go and start doing it towards a neutral people, and you get to explore what that's like. And many people recognize that one of the reasons to do loving kindness practice towards oneself, or do it towards people that it's easy to do and generate some feeling of kindness, of love, or goodwill, is that once you feel that goodwill in yourself, it's a lot easier to have empathy or understanding for the other people's capacity for happiness, well-being, to have that pleasure, to care for them, to want them to be safe. And our capacity to be altruistic or loving or caring for others is directly connected to how happy we are. So to want ourselves to be happy and feel the pleasure of that kindness is really helpful to be able to open up to other people. If we get tight and feel like I have to be kind now, and I'm obligated. These Buddhists are insisting you have to be kind, and I better get going here and do it quickly, and it doesn't work. You can't be an obligatory system. It's something that comes out of being relaxed, open, and a kind of a willingness of the heart in that process. So being happy with oneself is really a support for that. So let's do a session here. So if you'd like to stand for a minute, you've been sitting, if you want to just stretch and stretch out, shake out. Your body feels fresher. that what we're doing is exploring a very significant aspect of human life. And by saying it that way, I'm saying exploring is more important than succeeding. So don't set yourself up that you have to succeed in some kind of naive way about you're supposed to end up being kinder and happier at the end of the evening. It might be more significant in a way to actually have the opposite happen, and to explore that part of you and to understand what's happening in some significant way. We're exploring something, as opposed to necessarily succeeding in the stated way. And that exploration, hopefully, is a kind thing to do. It's a generous thing to do for yourself, to understand yourself, to see yourself well. Which motivates me to say one more thing before we do the practice here. I've been a Buddhist teacher now for probably about 20 years. I've been doing this. And I've met with a lot of people one-on-one, talk about their life, their inner life, their struggles in their life, support them and help them. And one of the, I've talked to people who have all kinds of tragedies, great difficulties, traumas in their life, struggles. And one of the greatest difficulties that I've encountered repeatedly, like the single most difficult thing that people really contend with, sometimes more difficult than loss of a child or spouse or something, is the suffering that comes when, as a child, the person was not seen. For a child not to be seen is just about the same as not to be loved. And there's something about being really seen that touches the place of being loved or cared or connected to. And so this aspect of using the practice to explore ourselves, to discover, is part of the seeing of this. And so here we're learning to see what's here. And so again, don't worry if it doesn't go so well. Don't worry if you're distracted, your mind wanders away. You're asked just to see yourself, see that, see what's going on. And ask yourself, what can I see here? And that seeing is a kind thing to do. So begin by taking a comfortable posture. And gently close your eyes. If you're sleepy, you're welcome to keep your eyes open, if that's helpful. And begin by caring for your body and your posture. So you might sway back and forth, rock back and forth, forward and backwards, sideways. Just kind of to better align yourself. Find the balance point, the place to be comfortable in your body as you sit here. Maybe move your head around a little bit on your neck. Just see if you can find a good place for your neck to be, your head to be balanced. And then sitting still, and in the stillness of the moment here, becoming aware of your body, not so much thinking about your body, but aware of how the body experiences itself. Be aware of the sensations of your body, the vitality, energy of your body. And then within this body of yours, take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathe in deeply. And then as you exhale, soften your body, relax. And then let your breathing return to normal. And feeling your body some more. Without needing to change anything or to relax in any kind of way. See if you can look at your body, feel your body with some kindness. A kindness that takes the form of wishing that there would be less tension in your body, less pain. The wish that you could feel at home, comfortable in this body. This body that's been with you for so long. As you exhale, perhaps you can send a wave of softening through your body. Some people find it helpful to bring their attention to the area of their heart, and perhaps there, in that area, to feel some tenderness. See if you can find any place of tenderness. To be tender. The kind of tenderness that is closely akin to kindness. And then breathing in and out through the heart center. To see if you can find, or to look at yourself, to feel yourself with kindness, with kind regard, the kind of goodwill where you wish yourself happy. Just as you would wish someone else to be happy. So this person that you are. And it isn't that you have to then now become happy, but there's a certain kind of pleasure or satisfaction, lightening up that can happen. Just by having the wish of goodwill, the desire that it would be a good idea if I can really be happy. It's quite reasonable and important that each person should be their own friend. And then, very quietly, silently in your own head, with a voice that perhaps expresses some friendliness, kindness, repeat these following phrases to yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. And as you say each phrase, especially at the end of it, see if you can relax in your body. Let the last word be a softening agent through your shoulders, your chest, your back rib cage, your arms. So repeat again to yourself, may I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. It can help if you don't try too hard to be kind towards yourself, but a simple, maybe ordinary goodwill, kindness that might feel pleasant or enjoyable. And then let yourself feel that pleasure as you say the phrases. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. So then next, bring to mind a benefactor, someone for whom you feel gratitude towards. Where the gratitude or your goodwill towards them comes easily. Perhaps remembering a time when they were happy, or a smile on their face. And perhaps feeling your gratitude, feeling your goodwill for this person. See if you can find within yourself the wish, the desire, the aspiration that they have a happy life, a safe life, a healthy life. How wonderful that would be, what a delight that would be to know that their life was settled in this way. And then give voice to that wish. Repeat the following phrases. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And as you say the words towards your benefactor, again at the end of each phrase, see if you can relax and open your body, open your heart, soften, even just a teeny bit. And connect to that part of your goodwill that's pleasant, that's enjoyable, satisfying. There might be other thoughts going on, but stay open to those thoughts that help you feel delighted, contented, satisfied. How wonderful it is that your heart should have the capacity to wish goodwill. So then say the phrases again. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And then bring to mind a friend for whom your goodwill maybe is not as free-flowing as a benefactor, but for whom it's relatively easy to have feelings of friendliness for. And the relationship might be complicated with other feelings at times, but for now, see if you can focus on the goodwill you have. Perhaps visualizing the person here as if they're here in front of you, or sensing them. Noticing you're finding the desire, the aspiration, the intention you have for their happiness. And then repeat the phrases for them. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And then see if you can bring to mind some benefactors or relatives or friends who care about you and for whom you have good feelings for. Could be 1, 2, or 3 of them. Bring to mind. And the people with whom you feel relatively safe. When you're with them, there's a high degree of safety. You can relax, lower your guard. And imagine that this 1 or 2 or 3 people are sitting around you, sitting with you here, close in. And you can relax, feel safe. And in this safe place, your heart can open a little bit, and you can take in, feel their friendliness towards you, their goodwill for you, their caring for you. And as you feel their friendliness towards you, and the safety, the ease you feel with them, and perhaps if it does, your heart does open somehow, relax somehow. Notice, is it now easier for you to feel goodwill towards them? To feel your kindness, your love for them? So then, to end the sitting, you can take a few long, slow, deep breaths and feel your body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, it's unusual in our life to give this kind of focused attention on loving kindness, on goodwill and kindness, like this. Unless you are, the few times when this happens is if you're head over heels in love with someone and you can't stop thinking about them. But usually in that kind of, romantic kind of focus that people have, it gets much more complicated than just kind of simple goodwill. But to have this kind of ongoing focus, it's quite unusual. And here we are, a group of people doing it. And for some of you, perhaps it's kind of a foreign idea to do this, to have this kind of focus. It's an unusual thing. So it would be nice, before we try the next meditation, to hear a little bit from you what it was like to do that meditation. Anybody like to share? I know it's a little bit hard sometimes to speak right after a meditation, but perhaps someone was still willing to. Was it? What worked? What worked for you in that meditation? What was difficult? What didn't work? What did you learn about yourself? So.
Last time when I thought of a benefactor, I thought of my mom who passed away, and all these regrets and everything came up. And then tonight, when you said something about gratitude, think of someone you feel gratitude toward, I thought of my sister, and it was a lot different. It was a lot easier to be present in the moment for that. And I know last week when you were talking about with the other woman about what her patterns are, I realized the pattern for me is I spend so much time regretting or thinking about the past that I'm not present to what's here. So I think that was really helpful to hear that, and then to think about my sister today.
So to do a course correction, kind of, and choose someone for whom there isn't so much regret, and it reinforces your tendency to think about the past and have regrets.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's great.
So, and I really liked the feeling of having my family close around me, putting loving energy towards me, and then, it was definitely even easier to put the loving energy back out there. So
great. Thank you.
So thank you.
In the ancient texts, this is kind of just a mention, in the ancient texts that describe this practice, this is an ancient practice in Buddhism. But when they say when you're choosing other people to do loving kindness towards, they recommend choosing living people. And because sometimes there can be other complicated feelings, or other feelings can come up if you choose someone who's passed away. And generally the Western teachers don't say that. They just kind of leave it kind of open, because for some people it works to include the dead. But just, know that that's the ancient advice. Over here.
With the people that I chose were people that I 100% trust, and I brought them here, and with that there was just a sense of ease, and it was of course very easy to wish them well and happiness, and having that feeling, it was just a natural state of ease and being okay.
Beautiful.
So
it's important to have that experience and know that, and then use that as a foundation to see that you can keep that ease, keep that openness, that sense of safety to people who don't love you. And that's part of when we start stretching ourselves. That's part of what can be a very challenging part of this practice, is to be able to find that, keep that going in people who don't have all this exchange, this mutual support. They don't look at you, with 100%, loving acceptance. And what does it take? What does it take to keep your heart open to them?
There was something very strong, a bond that it just didn't matter. There was no, and so.
Great, beautiful. So over here on the stage.
One thing I noticed when I was thinking of benefactors tend to be people who are older than me, mostly by maybe a generation, somebody like my parents' age. And it's interesting to me how I have to feel empowered a little bit to think that they're going to need my well wishes. I found that really interesting.
So
kind of like, why would they need my well wishes? Because
they're the ones supposed to take care of me. Something like that.
And then related to that, I was thinking how easy it is to have feelings of loving kindness toward children, and like specifically my nieces and my nephew, and how that comes really naturally because I am just naturally going to take care of them.
Beautiful. So it's important to recognize, these kinds of issues. Because then you can start questioning them and wondering about them and expanding yourself, grow with them. And the last thing you said, and it's easy with your children or your nieces, it's really useful to know who it's easy for you to do it towards. And then to really focus on that and let that grow, really recognize that. And then it's from that as a foundation that we begin seeing, can we now universalize this? So we're not denying the love we feel for individuals. We're not saying I shouldn't feel loved, but we're saying, yes, it's great that I should feel this way. Now can I expand my circle to include more and more people I can hold in a similar way in my heart? And that's the process of universalizing this. And in the Buddhist tradition, it's called breaking down the barriers. And there's no barriers to our love. It can be all-inclusive. There are people especially in Asia, in countries like Thailand, whose primary spiritual practice is this loving kindness practice, and you get into their orbit, and they just have this kind of tremendous radiance of kindness, of friendliness, of love. It's just palpable when you're in their presence because they spent years. That's what they've kind of focused on. I'll mention maybe I'll mention this a little bit next week, but in Buddhism, there's some Buddhists who say, well, loving kindness is kind of second best. It's kind of like through liberation. And there are other Buddhists, including the Buddha, who said that loving kindness practice is the way to get liberated. It's not second-class practice. It's really in a very focused way to develop this universal, expanded, breaking down the barriers is a way of helping the heart become spiritually free. Anyway, thank you. So, Firoz?
I'm happy you said it's not about success because I was far away from there. In the first part of the exercise where I had to express loving kindness for myself, there was almost an element of guilt, and my mind and feelings were wandering towards a particular family member who I thought was more deserving of...
Was more what?
Towards a family member,
yeah.
Rather than having the loving kindness towards myself. So there was almost an element of guilt.
Yes.
That I don't deserve it, somebody else deserves it more than myself. When we came to the third part, where I had to feel loving kindness towards friends and some other people, I could actually feel myself holding back the feelings of loving kindness. I mean, almost as if there was a sense of envy. And on the last part, where I was surrounded by a group of people, even though at a rational level I know that they love me, somehow I was experiencing self-doubt as to whether they really feel that way about me or no, with the exception of my deceased dad.
Great. So as I said earlier, I think maybe you missed it earlier, but to have all these things revealed in the course of the practice is one of the functions of the practice. Because then you can address these issues. You can question them, you can wonder, are they true? Some of them might be kind of true, and so what does that mean? What do I have to do? How do I have to grow? What are the issues I have to address? It kind of flushes out a lot of wonderful things. Some people get discouraged when they see, I said earlier, self-knowledge is seldom good news. And some people find that discouraging. In Buddhist circles, you're supposed to feel encouraged, because great, I see I have this shortcoming. Now that I see it, I can address it. Rather than being victimized by it and feel terrible, oh, poor me. You don't feel, is wow, great. Let's see what I can do about this. It's not going to be easy. It might take a long time. But I'm going to be forward-looking to see what I can do about it, rather than backward-looking and be kind of ground down the dust by it. Okay. So, if you want to stand again before the next sitting, stretch, shake out, whatever you need to do so you... again, taking some care with your body, settling into your body, relaxing. And if it's helpful, gently closing your eyes. And then taking again a few minutes to feel yourself in your body. Perhaps in your body, feeling the contact of your body with your chair or your cushion. Just really feel you're here. This is where you are. And taking some deep breaths. Again, as you breathe in deeply, to almost feel like it's a massage from the inside, stretching yourself out. And as you exhale, softening, relaxing your body. And then letting your breath return to normal. Breathing in, breathing out. Feeling the rhythm of breathing in your body. And as you sit here quietly, see if you can relax something within you so you could feel safer. Safer in your heart, safer here. Just for these few minutes at least. Feeling safer, relaxing. In the safety and relaxation of your heart, of your being. Can there be tenderness or kindness towards yourself? Hold yourself in kind regard. And then finding some place within you where you can wish yourself well. Thinking maybe how wonderful it would be, how nice it would be that if you can have some sustained well-being, happiness, joy in your life, safety in your life. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to want the best for oneself. So you might say these phrases silently to yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. And then see if you can bring to mind some person who might qualify as a neutral person. You don't really know well at all, no particular liking or disliking. Chance acquaintance, a stranger you remember. Someone you see occasionally but don't even know their name. A clerk or a distant neighbor. And if you can visualize the person, that can help. Or just think about the person, maybe remembering a time that you saw them. And perhaps considering a little bit the common humanity you share with a person. This person has a capacity for joys and sorrows like you. This person perhaps had parents at one point who loved them, cared for their happiness. And in considering this person, see if you can find within you the idea that it would be lovely, wonderful, if this person could be happy. May it be so. It'd be wonderful if this person could be safe and healthy. How wonderful it would be to see the person with a smile. And then thinking of this person and your wishes for them, see if you can say the phrases of loving kindness. And as you say it, see if you can kind of direct or send out towards them your goodwill, your best wishes, your well-wishing. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And perhaps you can even look at them with the same eyes, same gaze that one of your benefactors would look at you, care about you. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And as you say the phrases, perhaps at the end of each phrase or as part of it, see if you can relax something, open something inside of yourself, as if you're opening yourself towards this person, relaxing towards this person, so your goodwill can flow more easily or cleanly. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And as we say the phrases one last time, give some little extra focus on what's lovely or pleasurable about opening your heart and feeling this goodwill, well-wishing to someone else. And as you say the phrases and open up and relax as you say them towards, let yourself just feel that pleasure, that loveliness. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. And then to take a couple of deep breaths, feeling your body, and getting ready to end the sitting. So for some of you, I imagine this is a first, to take someone who you've never really given much attention to before in your life, a neutral person, never really considered much, and to really see if you can massage your heart, to explore yourself and see, and then sustain for a few minutes here. At least try to sustain for a few minutes. Just well-wishing, goodwill for this person that you've never had those kinds of thoughts, feelings for ever before. A neutral person. So what was that like for some of you? Was that challenging? Was that relief? Was that... What was it like to now open to include the neutral person? You know where the mic is?
For me, it was not that difficult to wish well for somebody I didn't really know, but I find it's easier to get distracted. And so this actually goes to a different question I had, which is, is it, if you find yourself wondering, does it, first I'm thinking, well, all right, that person's not working. I'll go be loving kindness towards somebody else. Is it better to do that, or is it better to just sort of try and pick one person and focus on it until the feeling gets really deep or really strong?
Well, the principle here is to start with where it's easiest and get it really going, and so it's strong or stable, or you feel like something, it's established. And then you go to where it's a little bit harder, and then a little bit harder. Keep working that way. And if somebody gets too hard, you lose that sense of compassion, loving kindness. Then you can go back to where it's easier to get it going again, and then open up to that more neutral person, more difficult person. So you kind of go back and forth a little bit. But with the neutral person, there's other issues going on sometimes, and sometimes you want to just keep working that one person, even if the mind gets distracted. So, for example, neutral people are boring. I mean, that's they haven't done anything for you in your life. They're not benefiting you in any way. You don't know them anything about them. You don't know the inside of their life. There's nothing established, and we're so used to having kindness or love or friendliness that's based on something, some exchange, something we get from them. They love us, so might as well love them. And here, this is a person who doesn't have any other juicy things that going for us. And so it might actually, the fact that we're distracted points to the fact that how difficult it is to sustain goodwill without a hook, without a personal connection, some deeper way. And what we're trying to do is to find how is it I can really get concentrated and focused on someone who is maybe not, they're boring inherently, but I don't really know them well enough. So two things are being developed. One is the capacity to see them in a deeper way, so that there's kind of interest there in them. And the other is we're also strengthening our capacity to stay concentrated. And so to develop concentration, it's kind of like it's fine to lift 1 pound weights, but at some point you want to graduate to 2 pound weights, and it's it might be trying to do that for a while. So the neutral person's like, now you're exercising on a harder place.
So that's actually another question I had, which is if you can tell, and for me, this wasn't because the person was neutral or, my best friend or anything like that, but if I'm just having trouble concentrating, is it better to keep trying to do this over and over again rather than switching to like a concentration meditation, like counting the breath or something like that?
That's up to you. Some people will do concentration practice on breath first to get a stable concentration going, and then switch to loving kindness. Some people will use who are very distracted, will use loving kindness to get concentrated. Some people find that a very useful way of practicing. And one of the reasons to do loving kindness practice is not to feel loving, but to get concentrated. And some people, they just kind of they keep the focus. They do the phrases over and over again. And the phrases do have a little bit of a mantric quality. I mean, you don't want to rest into the mantra, like a mantra. Just it's the meaning of the words which are important. But repeating them, some people find it easier to develop concentration that way. So you have to decide for yourself, what's the best strategy here. Go back to the breath for a while. So if the loving kindness practice is not working, you're distracted, then if you have access to getting concentrated with the breath, maybe go back to the breath for a while.
Okay. And I don't mean to hog the mic, but I did have one other relatively quick question, which is, if you're, especially in something where you're talking about a neutral person, you kept using the word you. May you be happy, rather than may he be happy or may she be happy.
I didn't know if it was he or she for you.
Well, no, but I mean, is it better to think of something as directed, and I'm referring directly to you in the second person versus a third person?
Okay, so I like your question because it gives me a chance to say there's no shoulds here. So you can experiment a little bit. If for you it's easier to say may he be happy rather than you, then do it that way. Some people find that you is more directed and you feel like more in contact. He is like a third person. So you have to kind of experiment and see what works for you. If any of these phrases don't work for you, you might have better phrases for yourself. So come up with better phrases that are more connected to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so it's not like classically they wouldn't say no, always second person. It's not third person.
Some people like to say the person's name if they know it. May Joanna be happy, may John be happy, and that helps them. Someone else over here.
So I had a somewhat similar experience in that I found myself focusing on people that I hardly knew, and similarly I kind of would focus for a little bit and then move off to another person, and then I was saying, well, I'm not focused. And then I relaxed, and then I found a person actually in my mind that I really could focus on. And it was good. I felt really comfortable. I felt some real compassion for this particular woman, which I happen to see today, so I've never met her before. And I was really able to wish her well, and it felt good. And then what was interesting was I then moved into more of a challenging space once I'd kind of felt comfortable there, where I went to places where I was having issues with someone.
Uh-huh.
And, I actually then kind of repeated that feeling of wishing them well. And so I found that by going to the neutral person first, it was actually easier then to now apply those same feelings to someone when I had more of a challenge of doing that with.
Great. So that was a little synopsis of next week. Next week we'll include the difficult people, and so you kind of on your own kind of intuited to go into that. That's great, and so it's kind of hard to jump into the difficult people, the enemies of our life. Just like cold, 0 to 60, and I'll love you. but to kind of start this process where we start where it's easiest and then universalize it is usually a lot easier for a lot of people, and it's a very, very profound thing. I mean, I can't underscore enough how profound it is to be able to find a way to universalize our love, to be able to love someone who's very difficult, someone who may be considered an enemy. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's possible to do it. And it has really transformative things in people's lives.
I want to say one other thing. So as I did that I also came back to myself. So it was an interesting round robin where I came back to myself, and I'm now got another little bit deeper.
Beautiful.
About those feelings with myself.
So the spiral is deeper into it. Beautiful.
Pretty good.
And so that spiraling can happen if you do it every day. You do the circles and the people, and it kind of deepens and deepens. So I saw someone else in the back. Yes.
Well, I noticed first time we cycled through, I felt really indifferent to wishing this person all this goodwill. And I noticed that I was being indifferent. And then we cycled through the second time, or got into the second time, and something opened up, and I felt an affinity flowing for this person. that I couldn't feel kind of before the opening occurred. And I kind of realized at that point the common denominator of affinity kind of raised for everybody to a certain degree. It was with that neutral person, when they came up there, all the prior people also came up too. It was an interesting experience.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. I love it hearing it. So, if any of this is challenging, be happy. It's a good challenge to have. And if you have, and be very careful with the belief systems that kick in. You don't kind of say, oh, not that kind of person. That kind of person doesn't deserve it. Or, it's fine to do it to people I love, but this, neutral people, that's just, now it's getting too sentimental, or now it's getting too, I don't know what. And look at what you do with your thoughts and your beliefs and how you pick them up, how you react. Don't take anything for granted in this. Question everything, especially if it feels like it's limiting you. And some people just kind of automatically believe what they think. But if what you're believing inhibits your capacity for doing this practice, question it. Not that necessarily that it's wrong, what you believe, but don't automatically believe it. Question, maybe even talk to friends about it. I'm doing this practice. The instruction was to now include neutral people, but I have all these reservations about doing it towards these neutral people, all these difficulties. Can we talk about it? Would you like to have coffee with me or tea, and we can talk about, my challenges with neutral people. And it's a very profound process, and it's not necessarily easy, but it's really worthwhile. And next week we'll talk about difficult people, which is one of the really fascinating areas to do it in. Many people have had the experience of having some kind of conflict with someone that seemed insurmountable, and then instead of fixing the problem, started doing loving kindness to the person, and somehow the problem went away. No one knows the mechanism of this, but somehow when we change our attitude, maybe people pick it up. They sense something in the air, or and it makes a difference. Anyway, so next week we'll do difficult people. Next week's our last week. We'll do difficult people, and then we'll go from there into the kind of the universal category. That's one of a larger category still that I'll explain next week. There is another handout if you'd like to take one that reviews some of the things I've talked about today and some other things. So if you'd like, you can take it. Maybe, Bill, you mind doing it again? Sure. Putting it out on a chair, maybe a couple of chairs, so it's easy to get with all these people. Oh, and this is that last week's? Those are just a few of the first two handouts, the pink ones, if you weren't here. Oh, pink and yellow. And so if you didn't pick one up and like the handouts with the other instructions, you're welcome to that. And it's certainly my wish that all of you could be happy and have a happy week, and that this practice somehow helps you to experience more ease and delight and happiness and love in your life. It would be great. May it be so. Thank you.